everybody. It's your girl, Nikki Nicole of Divas of the Roundtable Podcast. I'm joined here today with my co-host, Ladybug.
Oh.
Our girl, Spicy Red, is not in the building this evening. She has some prior things to take care of. On today's show, we have Miss Carla Page with us. Miss Carla Page has had a desire to become a funeral director since career day at the age of 12. Ooh. She is one of many firsts. She is the first generation funeral director, embalmer, and insurance agent. She is the first female from her hometown of Quitman, Georgia, to become a funeral director. She is also the first African-American to open a crematory in Northeast Florida and South Georgia. Carla Page received her education in Brooks County Public School System. She went to Gupton Jones College of Funeral Services and Florida State College in Jacksonville. In keeping with family tradition, Carla entered military after high school, and after fulfilling her military obligations, this proud military veteran began her career in the funeral industry. Having partnered and working with several funeral firms, Carla stepped out on faith and opened C.L.Page Mortuary in June of 2003. Carla is a member of First Timothy Baptist Church, Greater El Bethel Divine Holiness Church Development Board. She's also a member of 100 Black Women of Funeral Services. She's a National Funeral Directors Associate and Phi Sigma Eta. National Morticians Fraternity. She gives back to her community every year by sponsoring charity events, giving food, clothes, and toys to the needy in our community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, licensed funeral home owner, Miss Carla Page.
All right.
Wow.
Good to have you. That's you.
That's wow. That's you. Listen, and I kind of abbreviated some things a little bit. She been doing a thing. She doing a thing.
I see.
And, you know, I have to give it up to her. She did my dad's funeral, which you was there.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful service.
I remember when we met, we were in the room, like, handling business, getting everything going. And that's when I was sitting there. I had seen the name C.L.Page. Yes. But I didn't know who C.L.Page was, you know, and I didn't see any pictures. You know, I wasn't familiar like that. And after some kind of way, when you was saying about a signature, something you were saying to where I knew then that you were C.L.Page. Yes. And I said, oh, you're C.L.Page. And then you was like, yeah. And I said, you want to be on the podcast? That's the first thing I said. So, you want to be on the podcast? And she was like, what? And so, but she agreed to it and remembered me because she said something to me at my dad's thing, at my dad's funeral. So that was a good thing. I'm looking forward to having you on the show because this is something we've been talking about, you know, just letting the people in the community know who you are, how you came about doing what it is that you do, and the importance it is for those of us in the community, especially Black people, to make sure they tying up those loose ends and handle their business. Right. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We definitely appreciate you.
Yeah, we see you. We see you. You got you going. We got your look going. So we know you've been booked and busy. You've been handling business for the families. That's good to know. How did you get started into the funeral home industry? I know you say you were hooked on it at age 12 at the career day, but what were your first steps? Did you talk to somebody and say, hey, this is what I want to do, or did you know anybody or anything?
I tried to get on as my resume said, I tried to get on very early on. I looked at this show that many people don't remember, Quincy MD.
Yeah, I remember Quincy. Yeah, we remember Quincy.
Oh, wow, I was so interested. He made it so interesting every week, trying to solve these homicides. That's right. And so I would look at that and just thought, that's what I want to be. And so that's where the dream, that's where it started at. And on career day, as it says, I got up and said, I guess I was that little different kid. And so when I'm not sure if they still have it where you get up and do the speech or what you want to do, but they're still doing that.
Yes, ma'am.
But I stood up and I said that, and it never really hit home until I had someone pass. But I tried to get on at the local funeral homes. No one would hire me at all, and I was a female for one, and so that was a definite. They only had one lady attendant. At the time, they would only have one lady, and her job was to sit with the family, and that's it. And so I was still so young. But as I joined the Navy, my great-grandmother passed. And so I still wanted to do it. But once I looked at my grandmother, she didn't look like herself. She was this very fair-skinned lady, and she was gray. She just looked horrible, and so it became a different feel that I never wanted anyone else to have that feeling again. And so it became personal, and so you have to put it to that. But that is how I started, and once I got out of the Navy, my father was murdered, and so. Now another bad experience.
Right.
And from there, I just gotten out. I hadn't been out very long. And his thoughts he was going to help me start my funeral home. And so I didn't have that backing once he passed away. But it started out slow. I got an opportunity to work with some young men who had actually started in the location I am now. And each one of them, they just their partnership dissolved, and it left me. And so that is starting with someone else is how I actually began. And so I'm the last one standing, I guess.
All right.
You know, I like you speak about Quincy. I love forensic pathology, and that's one of the things that I was interested in doing, which it still fascinates me. Just, I'm not afraid of death and you know, people that has passed on and stuff like that. But in high school, I had already had my first child, and I went to school with a guy who worked at the funeral home after school. I think it was grandfather and daddy or somebody else was doing it, and I told him, I said, that's what I want to do. You know, I don't have no problems doing that. Yeah, I'm interested in it. And he brought me some books. And I remember looking through the books, and nothing bothered me that I saw in that book. It was showing different stages of decomposition and just different ways that people pass. Nothing bothered me until I got to the baby. And I couldn't. I was, after that, I said, nope. Because I had a baby. He was I think he was a year at the time. I said, I can't do it. And I was like, I'd rather go into nursing. And so later on, I went to school for nursing and everything, but I couldn't do it. So you say your first, I thought I heard you just say your first case.
That was my first funeral. I cried more than the mother. Oh my goodness. I could not hold it in. It was so, I had to go to the back of the church. It was horrible, you know, because at the time I was trying to have children and I could not conceive. And so I put myself in that place where she was. She had waited late in life to have a child, and she had just gotten married not long before. And when that first baby of hers passed, and I could not, you know, you put yourself, you have to feel empathy for the family, but crying more than
the mother,
Oh boy. I was with a bunch of guys, and they all ragged me pretty bad. So I tried to toughen up.
You tried to.
But it's still hard. It's still hard when you get young people in, when it is hard. It's hard to hear a mother cry. That is something that it pierces your soul. It does. It does. When a saint has slept on, then we can rejoice. But no,
when it's the child. So you have those cases that those families that you work with that you remember. There's certain ones that really stick out.
Yes. Yes.
more than others.
Yes, definitely. Children stick out more than anything. Those are the services that I've had where family members and friends that have passed. All of the people that started with me, all of them have passed, except for two that they are teachers that they're just the weekend warrior that come in only when I need them to help me, but they're there. But everyone coming into the funeral home, there's a wall that has everyone that has come that started with me that has passed on.
So let me ask you, we know that we all will meet our demise, or we all will leave this earth sooner or later. So in that being said, what should we have prepared as far as when we come to the funeral home? What kind of things do we need to have prepared, or what kind of things do we need to bring with us when we come to meet you after a loved one has passed?
Well, I need, when you come in to meet, it really is best. We have pre-need seminars, but in case if your family has not come through and made those arrangements, then you need all the documents that you need in hand. You don't necessarily have to have the documents, but you need to know your parents' social security number. You need where they're born at, their parents' names. Growing up, then I talked to my great grandmother. I knew her parents, and because she loved to talk, and I sat around, and people don't sit around and talk about things anymore. And so sometimes you don't know grandmother's maiden name, and you need that information. You need to, if there's any insurance policies, you don't have to bring the insurance policy, and bring the insurance in. Talk to your family members. They're getting older. Then we all need to put our papers in a box somewhere in the home. I know to go to this drawer and get mama's documents and bring them on to where. Talk to your people. Just let them know that in case something happens, then I need to know where everything is.
Yeah, because with funerals, I mean, my mom passed 2 years ago. I'm going to tell you now, I didn't remember nothing. I remembered nothing that whole week, the whole 2 weeks of nothing. But thank goodness my mom was very prepared.
Yes.
So she had her whole funeral written out. She had her whole obituary written out. She had her poems that she wrote that she wanted in. She had who she wanted to do this, who she wanted to do that. So she had that. So that took a lot off of you when they already have some of that stuff already in place. But I couldn't imagine not being able, I got to write out all this. I got to write out the obituary. I got to do all of this. And my mom just passed. Because your mind is, my mama just passed. Yeah. That's all you thinking about is my mama just passed, but you really living in the moment because you're trying to get all this other stuff done to take care of the business of your mother. And then the other blessing was she was going to the National Cemetery. So that was a big relief too as well, because I know the cost of funerals they're very expensive.
Yes, can be.
They're very expensive. So let's talk about us African Americans when we go in and we have, let's see, caviar pockets. We have caviar taste and
tuna fish pockets.
Ripple pockets, like Fred G say, you got them ripple pockets.
Yes.
So can you explain what was some of the cost, like the cost of the funeral, the burial, because some people just think you just have to pay for the funeral. They're not thinking about when they go in the ground. That's a whole nother a whole nother bill by itself. So could you go over what were the fees for a funeral, just the basic plan, or the basic minimum cost?
Well, as you know, the average cost of a funeral is $8,000 to $10,000. That's the minimum that you're gonna pay. That's for a complete funeral and the cemetery, depending on which cemetery that you go to, and you're starting there. You're paying for the embalming. You're paying for all of the things that go along with the casket. You can choose everything that you want, and you just need to to price it out. To you can call around. Don't and you should never just make a decision to just call a funeral home and say come pick up, because you should at this stage call and get the pricing. Go with their and get the accept the recommendation of your friends, but still price check to know what it's gonna cost, because it costs to move a person.
Yeah,
once
it does. It
you have
sure
put
does.
someone there, and now you get there and you're not pleased, and so now you have to move. So know where you are to begin with, but as far as costs, then you of course the limousines, all those things cost money, and so. And we can't give you the limousine because we have to pay for those things. So you have to know exactly what, if you have $10,000 or if you have $5,000, tell your funeral director. And now you can stay within your means of having to, instead of having to struggle to pay those things.
For it, yeah.
Right. So when people are cremated, but they have the viewing and they still have the body, they have to pay for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We can do a funeral followed by cremation, of course. The families are allowed to see their loved one. Sometimes families don't want to have a funeral service, but we allow for you to come in and see your loved one prior to the cremation if you want. You can actually be there just before, when the person is being put into the retort before cremation. The families are allowed, as with us having a crematory, you can come and start it up yourself.
I'm just going to say, I saw a video with the lady. It was her baby. It was her baby, and she did it. She said she told him she wasn't going to leave him. Yeah, she stayed there all the way, and she walked up there and pushed the button.
And I
strong.
Yeah, but I used to. There was a time that I felt being in the cemetery sometimes hot. And when I used to drive limousines, I was like, if people want to stay there until the very end, I understand it. My sister passed away a few years ago, and it didn't take that from me, because at some point you have to put yourself right there where these families are. But I was there to see my sister go into the retort. I was there when she was born, and I was there in the very end, and it was so personal to me. It was perfect. I understood that just being there with her and seeing the last of her, then it meant, it doesn't mean that you have to do that, but for me, it was closure, knowing to see her. That when my mother-in-law passed, I decided at the end, I didn't want to go and see her. I regretted it every day. And I grieved behind that, because I didn't see her, and didn't realize that until it was too late. But it was over. But it is something that you have the opportunity to do. And if you feel you need to do it for your closure, you do it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you I know we talked about having your affairs in order. Do you see a lot of even families coming in bickering about the coffin, the casket, or
the limousine,
the flowers,
who's gonna ride in a limousine?
You know, and it's like you haven't. Have you seen a lot of that?
Well, I won't say I see a lot, but there's a lot of compromise sometimes with families, and they normally work it out. You know, they always work it out, and you have to talk to them to help them go one way or the other. Sometimes you have a family member. In my case, I had a cousin that passed here recently, and my aunt, my blood aunt, she wanted him cremated. It was his desire not to be cremated, and everyone knew it, but she was adamant she wanted it. After some persuading, he is buried, and that was what he wanted. When people make their wishes known, whether they've written it down or not, then hopefully you will listen. They will listen to reason, and because that is something that you have to live with forever.
Yeah. And see, that's what we had with my dad. My youngest sister didn't want him to be cremated. She wanted him buried. And my oldest sister, he told that to. and 2 more of our family members, he had told that he wanted to be cremated. He didn't tell me. And we went back and forth, and I said, look, it's not about you. It's about Dad. This is what he wanted. So you have to stand firm in that. And then eventually she came around. She was like, yeah, y'all right. I'm being selfish. I'm saying what I want. I said, well, we're going to have the funeral. Beforehand, he would just be cremated, you know?
Right.
And have you noticed that? I've noticed it seems to be more people being cremated now.
Yes. When I first started, I rarely got cremations. And as time went on, I was getting more and more cremations. But we are getting a tremendous amount. And so it will be the predominant. I say that I am probably 60% cremation at least, maybe a little bit more.
Do you think it's because of cost, or if it's just the person desired that they don't want to be in the ground? They just like, I'm over it.
I don't think it's necessary. Some families is related to cost, but other families, I don't believe that. But it is, times are hard. And so there's a lot of people who have not prepared and have insurance. Our parents' generation believed in insurance.
Yes.
And so I remember the insurance man coming by, and Grandma had a nail on the outside of the door with the money
envelope.
Yes.
It's crazy because my grandmother, her guy had a key to her door.
Oh, God.
And she used to leave it on her coffee table.
Wow.
And he'll come in. But he was her agent for years.
Yes.
Trusted agent.
Trusted.
And he would come in and he would take it and lock the door back and go on. And she did that for years.
Yes.
And come to find out, the policy was so low, my mama had to get one of those things, the supplement. When my grandma got sick and had her brainstem stroke, my mom bought a package where she was just paying on it, you know, because there was she got it in forever ago when funeral was only costing a couple $100.
That's right. I've seen someone come in with insurance policies. It took 10, 15, it was so many policies of $25, $5. It was like, and I added up one time how long this person had the policy, and it was $250. They have been paying so long that they have far exceeded the value of the policy.
That's a shame.
Nothing, never built up and just stopped. But it's just really, these policies.
Some of them are.
Yes.
So speaking of that, my great grandmama, she was older. She kept calling me and telling me, hey, you need to go to the funeral home. You need to go to the, she was at Main Street. You need to go pay this off. So I'm like, okay, let me go, because this old lady keep getting on my nerves. She is really getting on my nerves about this. Y'all, when I get in there and I find out how much my great grandmama owed, the people say, we would have paid this for you. I think my grandmama owed them 97 cents.
No.
It was 97 cents. But she kept...
Her word was what? Her bond.
Pay. She wanted to pay. And she was like, you need to go find out where my spot is. I had to go. I had to tell her where everything was. I had to tell her what it looked like. She wanted to know what was there. I was like, okay. I had to run down the whole deal. And I said, Grandmama, you don't even owe these people $1. She said, you need to make sure everything is paid for. I said, this lady hounded me down over $1 because it was that important her to make sure that it was paid for, because it wouldn't fall on us. It wouldn't have to fall on us. And you have to have people like that, because I remember when I was married, I was trying to handle some business, and my ex-husband started acting crazy, and I had to call my friends and say, hey, if something happens to me, I'm gonna need y'all to be with him, because I can't let him bury me, because he got such a short attention span, because I say he'll have me in a purple casket with a green suit and a yellow liner. We not going to do that. So my friends was like, okay, because he couldn't handle. I was like, no, because when you sit at their funeral home, you're there for hours. You're there for hours trying to tie up the last business of your loved one.
Oh, yes, that's what I was thinking.
We was quick.
I was there for hours sometimes.
I don't like to keep a family long.
Yeah.
I've never kept anyone. The only way that we will sit there for an hour is we're just talking.
Yeah.
I have learned that Grandma made the best cornbread in the world. something. We are talking about who's doing what, but you can get in and take care, especially if you come in prepared.
If you come in prepared.
But you're able to call back and give the information if you don't have it. So.
Let me ask you this, because you kind of hit on it when you say your first family was of a child. Do you see that a lot of families don't necessarily get policies on the young? Because see, for me, when my grandchildren, when they did that, I was calling, getting a policy. I wasn't playing. I got policies. I pay 11 policies every month. Yeah. Every month. I don't miss a beat.
I believe in insurance too. The baby has to live for at least 15 days before you can get a policy. And it's not, you can get a children's rider on your policy. You don't actually have to have an individual policy, and that'll carry them up until at least 20, I believe it's 25 years of age they can have that. And so it's too much. These companies send information all the time in the mail, so it really isn't. And the price is so minimum. So minimum, the price of a coat for a
But are you seeing that a lot of people are not taking advantage of those lower rates?
They're not. They're not. Most people are not in the community. They're not getting these policies, and they're saying they don't know about these policies. So I don't know. I get something in the mail weekly.
Yeah, Gerber, Globe.
I was going to say Gerber was the first one.
Weekly, I get something in the mail.
Normally, when you have a baby, it seems like they start coming. I don't know if it's something through the hospitals or whatever, but I think people just not prioritizing, and they think the youth are our future. They got years. We're not going to worry about it today. When the fact of the matter is, SIDS, car crashes, incidents in the park. It was at one time the minute blinds was doing the number on
accidents.
They putting TVs on dressers. That was a real thing. Yeah. Kids getting into swimming pools. That is a real. Yeah. It's really happening.
Yeah. I feel like now people feel like GoFundMe is another type of insurance.
Yes.
And I just think that GoFundMe is just, I just think GoFundMe is just a little.
Go fund yourself.
Yeah, I just think that's a little tacky. I just think that's a little tacky for something that is responsibility of a family. Yes. Now I could see you want other people to help you GoFundMe and you raising $15,000. So if you don't have this kind of money, then $15,000 is not what you need. You need about 5, 6, whatever you can get is whatever you can get. Yes.
Change your service to something that but not. You should a horse and carriage and on a GoFundMe.
Oh, GoFundMe.
But that's up to them.
Let me ask you this: with you being a funeral director, have you thought about your plan? Like, do you want to be buried or cremated?
I'm gonna be buried. I'm going home to be with my mom. Still living, so I'm from a little country town, Dixie, Georgia. My grandmother, before she passed away, she bought plots for the entire family. Okay. And so at Cinnamon Hill Missionary Baptist Church, I already have my spot. My sister is there. If my mom should go first, then I'll be beside my mom. If not, I'll be beside my sister, and we will carry on with the family. Okay. So I will be buried. But I don't have any problem with cremation, but I'm a burial. And so I already have it laid out in my mind. One last, I do the Christmas party. COVID stopped us, but this year we're bringing it back. But it will be one last giveaway that the funeral home will have. I don't know if they'll carry on the tradition, but after I've told all of them that we will have a mass giveaway, and I will lay up. I want my hair long and flowy on the pillow, and I will lay up, change me 2-3 times.
That's me. I want to be changed.
Make me into the diva that I knew I always could be.
I want to be changed 2 times.
So, have you seen, what do you think about this? Is it a fad, a craze, or the people being sitting up on motorcycles and cars and boxing rings?
Crazy.
But they've been doing that. It's overseas. I see that a whole lot. But we're here to do what you want us to do. So if you want to show your goals, then we'll show them. Whatever you want, you know. But I haven't had anything like that. But I have had some things that were a little different. But I will accommodate you, whatever. As long as the funeral board didn't have an issue with it.
You say the funeral board.
I don't have an issue with it.
Do you all in your like with you going to college to learn the trade? Do they teach y'all like the hair and makeup and the reconstruction? Do you had to go through all of that?
Yes.
Like in
It's a general on makeup, but as far as the reconstruction, there is a class of restorative arts, and so we learn how to make the ear, nose, lips, everything. Everyone has to make a head and make it look the way that you look. I've had mine all these years since I graduated. In 1995, I keep that, and so I've done it, and it was kind of easy over the weekend to do it. But some people find now as far as doing it on someone real, then most of us don't have the true opportunity to do. But there's things, gunshots, then that gave enough knowledge to be able to fix that to where you should not be able to tell that the person has been injured. And so there are some, when it's really extensive, then the family needs to probably make another decision. Maybe just if you want to have your closure, but not for anyone else to see. So you have to make some, and so it's up to us to kind of guide you in that direction. And hopefully with this general guiding, then they will make the right decision for them.
Yeah, because I know it can be hard, especially when it's a tragic death or if it's a drowning or a fire. You can't, because we had a family member a few months ago and we were unable to have a open casket because it was a smoke fire. It was a fire. So I know it's kind of hard because you always want to see that, you want that last memory to look down and see your family, but sometimes your family is not the way.
That's right.
So
that's right.
It might be
it's hard. It's hard. One of the things that I need to stress also, check on your loved ones. Call them. You got someone older, check on them. We have that family member that don't want to answer the telephone. Check on them. It is countless people that I've had over the years that 2-3 days go by, a week go by, and now they've had the heat on in the house, now you're not able to see your loved one, and there's nothing that anyone can do. Check on them, check on them, and I don't know how to, because I got an aunt, and she's my age, and she'll be watching this, but she don't want to answer the telephone, and so we call, and then you think, knowing someone's got high blood pressure and this thing and that thing, then now the worst, working in the business, then I start thinking the worst. No, I'm not going to have a no-show. We're not having no more no-shows.
Well, let me ask you this, like you say, working in the business, I'm sure you've seen a lot. So do you think that over the years of you being in the funeral business, doing funerals and stuff, that you've kind of gotten calloused a little bit, emotional, like you've been able to detach a little bit, or, just to build a wall of protection for yourself, mentally, emotionally and everything. Do you feel like you've done that?
No, not really. I rarely work visitations anymore because that, I will come through and I'll say hello to the family, but I still have not built that up. And the day that I do build that up, I think that's the day that I need to go. To quit. And I've said that the day that I don't come to a service is the day that I need to quit, because that if I owe it to the family, they trusted me enough with their loved one, and I owe it to them to come to the service that they're paying me to do. And so I have to stagger them in a way that at least I can show up at some point in the service, whether I'm there in the very beginning, I come in the middle, but I'm there in the end to where you see me. But that is what, and I never will build that up. But I can't work the services because I really was, not services, but the visitations in the very beginning, because I really was carrying that home.
Yeah.
And it got me so early on with those mothers crying for their young teenage boys that had gotten out here that I can't, it just.
Yeah.
So what do you do for yourself to kind of release all of that and just, and kind of get a sense of normalcy in your life? What is it that you do for you
to de-stress,
to pour back into you?
To de-stress.
I have a garden that I go out. I have some collard greens. I have a piece of Dixie here in Jacksonville, but I have collard greens and all. I have chickens. You
got them eggs.
Yes.
You got them eggs.
Oh, you the plug.
Where you staying? We're coming to you. We're coming to you for some eggs.
I love it. My chickens have names.
Oh.
And so my mom says that I have 3 now. One of them passed away. I had a whole service for the chicken. I had to bury the chicken, but everyone, only one lays, and she says the other 2 are for the rice pot. So she's not gonna get my chicken.
Oh.
But as a funeral, I had a dog that passed away. I knew she was dying. I went and bought her a little dress for her. And I brought the casket home on the day that she died, and we had a whole wake in the house for her.
Oh, wow.
Buried in the front yard. I know the people probably wondered what we were burying at, because my husband carried the casket out there to the front yard and where she's buried at. And I know those people pass by. I wonder what she's buried. What's she doing?
Oh, wow.
Because the hearse is backed up to the house sometimes, and I know they're wondering what's going on. But yes.
So that's what you do for yourself. You work you with your animals. You work your garden.
I get out and work and
those collard greens.
Yes.
Collard greens and them eggs. The eggs is the major thing. But I do just have a big heart for funeral directors and people in the funeral industry, because it is such an emotional time, and you all are just as calm and cool and collective as possible, not knowing on the way to the we probably done cussed each other out. Because it's been times I know people in my family, hey, when we get here in this funeral, don't act up and don't show out at these people's church. Hey, we not finna argue. Just act like y'all got some sense till all of this is over. Get in here and act like you got some sense. Because you sometimes have to talk to your people.
Oh, yes.
You have to talk to your people sometime, and y'all just come, you're just as nice, and we need you all to line up accordingly. And I'm just like, they have the patience, because I'll be like, get yourselves, come on, your mannerisms are just always on point, on tack, and that's a craft, because everybody does not have that. And that is definitely a gift, because everybody does not have that. So is it a class that you take?
No.
Look, because how do we say?
Meditation and prayer.
Is it a one-on-one?
Let me be a blessing and not a lesson. Let me be a blessing to somebody.
Right.
I think God just sprinkles into each of us what we're supposed to be and do. And we just know this is what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to be there to guide you through the most, this experience and make it as stressless as we can do, and just to help you. And there's no other better words than to hear that you made this easier. I wasn't expecting this. And so when you can hear that, then you've done a good job. Yes. And so that's always our aim, to take the pressure off of you. And by the question that you asked, what should you bring in? That's easy. And so if you have those things, I got the rest. You come in here and pick out what casket, it's my job. And you bring in the clothing, unless you're letting us, and you can go into it. We have a section where you can choose the suit that you want. Okay. And so the things that you want, it's my job to help you do this. If you tell me to go and get your father a blue suit, I'm going to go get that blue suit for you and take that all the way off of you. And you go home and you bring me the program information, email it to me, and I got it. I'm supposed to.
That's right. That's a blessing. That's a good thing.
Good, yes.
That's a good thing. Yeah. Because it's just so, funerals are just so, it's just stressful because your loved one is no longer with you. No matter how young, how old, whether y'all was on good terms, whether y'all was on bad terms, it's still that person is no longer with you. And we put our final trust into you to make sure that we say our farewells and our goodbye in decent and in order and make you proud. Because you know when you have a good funeral, oh, your mama would have been so proud of you. Oh, your dad would have been, oh, y'all laid her well. They did a good job at the funeral home. So you'd be like, okay, thank you. So that's a big thank you for everybody because it just all worked for the benefit. And we know that we entrusted you to in good hands. They're in good hands. So that means the world.
I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for coming here today. But before we get up out of here, we got our end with 10.
End with 10.
You guys know we do the end with 10 at the end of the show with our guests. And today we're going to ask Miss Carla Page. We're going to throw out some questions for her. 10 rapid fire questions just so you guys can get to know her on a more personal level. All right, Ladybug, start us off.
All right. Cat or dog?
Dog.
Okay. Dream vacation?
Egypt.
Okay. I like it. Dream car?
Ooh. I'm a Cadillac girl, so I'm going to stay right there.
Okay. If you could talk with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
Probably my sister.
Oh. And then New Edition, our Boys to Men.
Ooh. I grew up with New Edition.
Hey, that's it. Yes.
So here we go. Tropical Island or Winter Wonderland?
Winter Wonderland.
Nice. Okay. Your favorite holiday?
Oh. Thanksgiving.
I like Thanksgiving. I know you probably don't get a chance to watch them much, but what's your favorite sports team?
Oh, Georgia. Oh. You know, I'm a Bulldog.
Georgia Bulldog.
Okay, Georgia Bulldog.
Okay, Japan or France?
Someone's at the front door doorbell.
France.
Okay. And if you wasn't doing what you're doing right now, what would it be that you would be doing? What is it that you'll be doing?
I would probably be on the ice lake with my husband fishing.
Oh, okay.
So you like the fish.
Nothing wrong with that. Everybody, hey, we gonna need all of those skills. Fishing,
chicken,
the
farming.
way these grocery store runs looking,
Right.
all of that.
$9.99 for some eggs. Whew.
Well, you guys, I want to thank y'all for tuning in today. Again, we had Miss Carla Page on the show. Y'all know my girl Ladybug. She's been in education for 27 years.
27 years.
So if y'all get that call from the school telling you come pick up your bad behind kids,
Pick them
please
up.
think of my girl Ladybug because she'll be there struggling with some kids of her own. Spicy Bread isn't here, but if y'all see the FedEx truck on the highways and byways, think about my girl Spicy Bread. And if you think about anything with love, peace, and prosperity, please think of me. Y'all be blessed. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.